we're going to have some news clips from Australia and the US.
Okay, hello everyone. Here's the report from the United States this week. Last week, WDI USA submitted a public comment to Meta's Oversight Board, which is soliciting them with regard to two cases it is reviewing concerning gender identity that arose under their bullying and harassment community standard policies. One case involves men and women's public bathrooms, and the other involves men and women's sports. Because Meta provides speech platforms, they also invite comments to address free speech in relation to what they term the rights of transgender people. Our response references Declaration Articles 1, 4, 7, and 8, and concludes that humans cannot change sex. Women and girls, along with all other citizens, should have the right to reject the lie that some men are women without being censored. Hate speech policies that prevent people from referring to a man as a man are dangerously undemocratic. Free speech must not be curtailed because a man's feelings might be hurt by being called a man. If we cannot tolerate hurt feelings, we cannot tolerate democracy. We also circulated a mailing to Declaration signatories encouraging them to give Meta their opinion on gender identity individually, using our public comment as a template. The Wall Street Journal published an interesting piece last week. Apparently, conservative filmmaker and social media activist Robbie Starbuck has had significant success with his campaign to push companies to ditch their DEI policies. So far, automaker Ford, motorcycle manufacturer Harley Davidson, Lowe's, rural retailer Tractor Supply, tractor maker John Deere, distiller Brown-Forman, which makes Jack Daniels, and Molson Coors have all dialed down their diversity initiatives, and most have specifically indicated they would be distancing themselves from the Human Rights Campaign. Additionally, Ford and other companies have announced plans to stop providing data for the Corporate Equality Index produced by HRC's foundation, which helps gauge how friendly the company's policies are to LGBTQ people. Quoting from the article, the focus on the HRC, and in particular its equality ranking, marks a shift in efforts to unwind diversity initiatives in the private sector. I can only wish him continued success in this endeavor. Next, I'd like to mention a few upcoming events. First, as Wolf Director Sharon Bird mentioned last week, Wolf is hosting a Pennsylvania Women's Upraising rally to demand the end of all forms of violence against women and girls, scheduled to take place in Philadelphia on the 14th. Next will be WDI USA's annual convention, Amplifying the Women's Liberation Movement, in Atlanta from September 20th to the 22nd. I'm so excited to be attending this year after being offered the opportunity to present an overview of the WDI book, Women's Rights, Gender Wrongs, as a means of encouraging US sales, which have consistently lagged behind those of our European sisters. And finally, WDI USA volunteers will be joining a coalition of organizations, including the LGBT Courage Coalition, Our Duty, DIAG, LGB Alliance, Wolf, and Do No Harm, for a peaceful public action during the 2024 American Academy of Pediatrics Conference taking place in Orlando, Florida at the end of the month. The coalition will be telling the AAP to stop medicalizing kids in light of the Cass review and the lack of scientific evidence that supports the safety or effectiveness of such treatments. Of note, Admiral Rachel Levine is scheduled to be a keynote speaker. That's all from me today. Thank you.
I also just want to note, Admiral Levine is also under investigation by a congressional committee. So that's a little bit of good news for this week.
Giggle of Giggle and Tickle fame has barrister Stuart Wood now listed on its crowdfunding page, which suggests that plans are in motion for an appeal. The deadline is 28 days from judgment. And Wood is King's Counsel, having been awarded the Order of Australia, and specialises in industrial relations, specifically focused on freedom of speech and belief. Reem Al-Salam has already also published a statement in response to the Tickle and Giggle ruling from the Federal Court, and I'll put a link to it in the chat. The e-petition against the proposed New South Wales Equality Bill exceeded 20,000 signatures. This triggers a mandatory debate in Parliament. So note that not all states in Australia have this trigger, and the Commonwealth Parliament doesn't have it. So many bills go undebated. The Equality Bill not only introduces self-ID for birth certificates, it removes prostitution from the Summary Offences Act, legalises overseas commercial surrogacy, allows children under 16 to consent to gender-affirming medical interventions, and things like that. Jasmine Sussex's, the expiry date of the bill at the moment is the end of October, so that debate will happen relatively soon. Jasmine Sussex's matter before the Queensland Tribunal is now fully public. She has complaints of vilification and harassment against her from Jennifer Buckley. That's a biological man who fed chemically induced nipple discharge to his baby, and Jasmine criticised the practice. The Royal Women's Hospital has given a statement to the media in support of this practice and has confirmed that it does support these men with trans IDs to do this. I'll put a link to her case page in the chat. Note that her solicitors are acting pro bono, so the crowdfunding is not for the solicitors. They're a Christian law firm. They act in many freedom of belief and expression matters, regardless of the beliefs of the actual client. Although my understanding is that they are supportive of Jasmine's case. MP Maury Deeming's discrimination suit against leader of the Victorian Liberal Party, John Pesutto, starts this coming Monday, the 16th of September in Melbourne. This is in relation to her being characterised by him as a Nazi or having Nazi-aligned views following the 2023 Let Women Speak rally. That's all from Australia. Thank you.